Hi everybody, this is Amy from Temple Seeker, and today I am here in Coimbra and I'm talking about a bit of a controversial subject which you wouldn't expect from me, and that is 7 things I hate about Portugal. Before we go into things that I dislike about Portugal, I want to preface this video by saying I absolutely love and adore Portugal. It is my second home. It is one of my favourite countries in the whole world. I could easily, quite happily spend forever here. The advantages of Portugal completely outweigh the disadvantages, and I feel that I've spent enough time here now and I have made enough positive social media posts and enough positive videos about Portugal to earn me the right to have a little bit of a moan. And really what I want to do is present countries to you from both perspectives. I want you to know the good and the bad. I want you to understand that if you're coming to Portugal, here are a few things that you maybe need to be aware of. First on the list is the very slippy and dangerous calçadas. Now, if you haven't been to Portugal before, have a look at some pictures of these calçadas or pavements online. They are absolutely beautiful. Parts of Portugal even have pictures artistically put into the calçadas. Lisbon has loads of patterned pavements. If you go down to Lagos, you'll see octopuses even in the pavement. Octopi. It's beautiful, but they may look beautiful. They are deadly. So when it rains, basically these calçadas get so slippy, you can easily injure yourself. I fell on a calçada in Lisbon. The only thing that saved my knee was the fact that I'd been clothes shopping and I landed on my bag of shopping. When I took my mum to the Algarve, we went to Lule and she had quite a bad slip and actually banged her head on the pavement. Basically, Portuguese people don't go out in the rain, and that is the reason why. You need to avoid going on these pavements when it's really, really wet. Only go on these pavements when you've got proper sturdy walking boots on. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to walk on the calçadas in heels or slippy footwear. It's deadly. The second thing that is challenging about Portugal is the bureaucracy. So if you want to spend any amount of time here and you've not got an EU passport, say for example you're a Brit trying to come to Portugal post-Brexit, or maybe you've got an American passport and you want to get residency here, there's going to be challenges. And one of the biggest challenges people seem to face here is that sometimes people don't know their own rules of the country and how to process your visas or your residency applications. And then sometimes you'll basically find that it depends on the person behind the desk. If you go to an office and you don't get what you want, try going again the next day when it's a different person and a different time, and you might well find that they stamp it or sign it off. What we found is that some people have been asked to get an attestado, which is like a witness from a Portuguese citizen. Some people haven't been asked for that. Some people have just had things go straight through without evidence. Other people have been asked to have evidence of money in their bank account. This is even sometimes in the same city. For example, we're studying in Coimbra and some people are being told different things even here. Sometimes people are being told things that are not actually true. It's a bit of a minefield. My best recommendation, if you want to try and navigate this, is to learn Portuguese, because you'll find you get a lot further if you speak some basic Portuguese. So my Portuguese is level B1 now, which is just about enough to be able to navigate some of these things. And it definitely helps. Don't be put off by it. Keep on ploughing through, because it's worth it in the end. Number 3 on the list is bad weather in the north. Now, I am British. I'm so British, I always talk about the weather. And one of the things that surprised me about Portugal was in the north, they do still have really quite bad weather. Now, expect quite a bit of rain. Expect December and January to be rather cold, particularly at night. If you're visiting the north and you're coming in, say, November, December, don't pack as if you're going to the Algarve in summer, because you will freeze. So you need to think practically. Pack lots of pairs of jeans and lots of sweaters if you're travelling to the north in the winter, and just keep an eye on the weather report as well. Next on the list is the barking dogs. We experienced this in the south, in the Algarve. I've also experienced it in Bragança. Portuguese people do have big dogs as guard dogs, and they don't seem to control the amount that they bark, and sometimes they can be left out barking all night, which is obviously a bit of an annoyance if you want to go to sleep. We have our own little dog, Blakey, if you didn't already know about Blake. He's very cute. He's a little Patterdale Terrier. And when we first bought him for a trip to Portugal, he was a bit stressed out and scared of the big dogs because they have Alsatians and they have quite big mongrels. They come across rather aggressive when they're territorial. So be aware, wherever you're staying, just scope out the situation for the dogs. They're off lead as well sometimes, which can be quite scary if you're walking your own dog. So we experienced dogs, off lead dogs, or stray dogs or owned, following us and Blake. The same thing has happened to my friend Tara, who's got a black lab here in Coimbra. They get followed, and it's unpleasant, especially if you don't know the dog or if your dog is not very good with other dogs. Now, this links into the previous point as well as the barking dogs. You may experience shitty streets. Now, I don't know why this is, but we have a dog. We clean up after our dog. We take poo bags everywhere. In some parts of Portugal, people just don't seem to scoop the poop after they've walked their dogs. Sometimes they even just let the dogs out without walking them, so it's out without a collar and lead, and he just poos in the street, just shits in the street. Be careful about where you're treading. Look where you're treading, because I actually went to a whole class at university with a shitty shoe. The next thing that I want to mention is this issue of Brits abroad. Now, I'm going to have to be slightly insulting to my own kind here, but there's a lot of parts of the Algarve where it's a little bit embarrassing to be British. For example, Albufeira and Praia da Rocha. So if you don't want a binge drinking culture, or a culture which is quite highly British, i.e. you're not going to hear very much Portuguese being spoken, or you're going to be able to get your fish and chips, things like that. If you want to avoid that, choose somewhere more authentic. I really like Lule as an option in the Algarve because to me it just feels a lot more Portuguese. So make sure that you scope out the destinations and get to know what that particular city or town is going to offer you. So if you go to Vila Moura, you're going to see a lot of fast cars, a lot of yachts and a lot of fancy restaurants, which is all well and good if that's what you're looking for. But if you're looking for authentic Portugal, you won't find it in Vila Moura, Corteira, Praia da Rocha, Albufeira. Last on the list is quite a serious matter, and it's this issue of forest fires in Portugal. When I arrived in Porto this summer, I found it almost impossible to get to Coimbra because forest fires had just basically taken over all of central Portugal. It was really dangerous. There were deaths, there were people who lost their houses, even people whose pets had died in fires. Absolutely awful. The roads were all blocked off. The firefighters, the bombeiros here in Portugal, it took them at least 3 or 4 days, possibly longer, to get it all under control. They had to send in the water bombing planes from Spain, Greece, lots of other countries. So it gets very, very serious. The year prior to that, when I was on the Algarve, there were also forest fires in Monchique. So it's really important to be aware of the forest fire situation, particularly if you're coming in the summer, which is when they're more likely to happen due to the very, very dry weather and the heat. So be aware of how this could affect your travel plans. I had my bus cancelled, so then I had to get a taxi. The taxi wouldn't take me, so then finally I had to get a train, and I got to Coimbra about 7 hours later than I should have. So be aware of how it'll affect your travel plans. Be aware of how it will affect the region. You don't want to be staying in a region that is prone to forest fires, so do your research on it. Areas in central Portugal and areas of the Algarve are very, very prone to it. Do make sure you read up and you check it out. The other thing is, consider that even if you're not right by forest fires, but you're in an area that is going through forest fires, the air quality can be really, really bad. And for me, this is a really big trigger for asthma. I suffered quite a lot with my asthma in Bragança due to nearby forest fires, and I ended up being in hospital. I've done a whole nother video about travelling with asthma if you're interested in looking at that. So please do your research and please be aware the forest fires is a very, very serious issue here in Portugal. So there's one more thing that I want to talk about. This is not a thing that I hate about Portugal because I'm quite used to it. I've travelled in Portugal quite extensively, and it's this issue of couvert when you go to restaurants. So when you get in a restaurant, they'll bring you the bread and the olives and the dips and things like that. Now in England, that would be free. In Portugal, it's standard that you're going to pay for it. So if they bring you a load of breads and snacks and olives, don't be scared to say no thank you if you don't want to pay for it. But don't accept it, eat it, and then be surprised when there's a charge for it on the bill. This is completely normal in Portugal. It's part of their eating out culture. It's not a scam, but for some Brits, it drives them crazy. They think they're being ripped off by the restaurant. They don't get that it's just a normal thing here in Portugal. So be aware of couvert. If you eat it, be prepared to pay for it. I hope that you found this interesting. If you are thinking about travelling in Portugal or even moving to Portugal to study or to work, it's absolutely fantastic. I'm always raving about Portugal. I absolutely love it here. I've made quite a few videos. I've done some videos of Coimbra now, different places to eat, different places to go out. I've done some videoing in Aveiro, in Porto. So if you're interested and you want to see more from me, please make sure that you remember to subscribe. And thank you so much for listening, and thank you for watching. Obrigada!